usable space beneath with lockers and a bathroom and a kitchen and things like that. So a true two-story on the side closest to the Biondi property. And our other concern is significant construction and regulated activity within the coastal erosion hazard area, or the CEHA. Among other restrictions, any proposed work must prevent or minimize adverse effects on the natural protective features and natural resources in the area. To the extent any work is done at the subject property, reducing the breadth, the scale, the scope, the size of the building, as we've suggested, reduces the impacts and helps preserve the natural resources, as well as pervious natural drainage of there being sand and ground and dirt and things of that nature. And for every inch of pavement you lay and every inch of roof that you put up, that's less rain hitting natural dirt and sand and vegetation and going into the ground, being diverted to drainage wells, the street in front of the building, things of that nature. And I'm sure that there's a drainage plan that, that they'll comply with the regulations. But the more natural vegetation, the more we preserve in this critical environmental area, and it also will help with stormwater runoff and things of that nature. So those are our comments for this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I appreciate your time and patience.
Well, as you pointed out, we all just received these plans tonight, so there's a great deal of consideration that has to take place. We've heard your points. And,
Thank you.
we'll allow.
Respond to a couple things?
Yes.
Or would you like me to wait?
Do you want to have them respond?
It's gonna let everybody
it's
talk
fresh.
and then maybe you come back and otherwise it's gonna get pretty choppy.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one question? Do we have a copy of the easement that covers the garden? I don't know if you.
It's in the larger
You
letter
did
report.
submit it?
How did that happen?
Joan McGivern from Toomey Latham. I'm going to keep my comments briefer. I represent the Bergmans who live on the west side of the property, meaning on the other side from Beyondies. Oh, sorry, 51 Dune Road. I want to start by, if you can, turn to page 3, which is the existing structure. And what you can see is that most of the existing structure is almost 60 feet from the Beyondies property line. Presently, if you turn to page 5, you can see that they've basically reduced by almost half, so that it's now about 30 feet from their property line, and they're also proposing a height of about 40 feet. So it'll be essentially towering over their property. I don't think 5 to 6 foot redwood, red cedar is going to provide the type of landscaping that they're looking for. But I want to focus your attention on the memorial garden. If they were to eliminate or possibly move the memorial garden to the opposite location, they could move the structure of the building over a good 20 feet farther from the property line. Our feeling is that, and I'm echoing Mr. Stelakis's comments, that there's a lack of sensitivity here to the residential nature of the properties on either side. And so compressing this plan somewhat would give relief to the residential owners on either side of the property. Based on our measurements, the memorial garden is about 20 feet, roughly 20 feet. Yeah. Do you have any questions? I'm going to.
As we've all pointed out, these
You
plans
just
are new.
received the plans. Yes.
That we don't look at plans the night we get them.
Yes.
And I'm certain that our experts are going to have comments, and I have no doubt that the applicant is going to have some responses to the comments that you've made.
I think Mr. Bergman would like to address more specifically the landscaping, his prior history with trying to have landscaping. His prior history with landscaping with the club and the present proposal. Thank you for your time.
I never spoke at one of these meetings, thank God, so.
So
It's
we
just
got
first.
really good though. You seem enthusiastic. You
Very
like that.
enthusiastic. I came up from Cuba to do this. 2009,
It's you out?
gotta go back tonight.
Okay, good.
2009, we bought property. It was a 1951 bungalow. It was a disgusting structure. We can never get C of Os to up the electric. We can never get C of Os for many things. So we had no choice, but we took down the house. We shared everything with the club next door. Shared the plans. When the house was 3/4 built, we took them to the second floor because everybody was concerned about the open air locker room. They said Quantuck Beach Club is one of the oldest clubs out here, and the open air locker room is very special. I didn't know what an open air locker room was. Okay, but they explained it to me.
In Guantanamo.
Okay. They explained to me what an open air locker room was, and I sort of got it. There's nothing I could do. So we went out and we decided on a landscaping plan. I'm pretty good at landscaping. Somebody telling me they're building a 40-foot structure and putting up 5 to 6 foot trees and bigger ones don't last is complete nonsense. We went out and we put up 30-foot pine trees and brought them all in and made a deal with the club. We were going to do a row, but they had to do a row. Well, we did our row. It was 150,000. They were going to chip in 50,000 on a handshake, and they didn't give me a dime. They didn't put any sprinkler systems in. So I will say this: 3 years ago during the drought, everything we put in died. Everything on Dune Road died. Everybody knew it was the worst drought ever. Okay, but that was all money paid. So my property has screening of plants between 15 and 35 feet that I paid for. In fact, last year, okay, we put in extra screening. This is what bothers me about the whole situation. I live out there pretty much full time. They're good neighbors. They have ice cream cones come on our porch because they deliver it to the wrong one. I walk it over there. Okay. I walk over napkin holders. I walk over everything. I'm a nice guy. They sent out plans one day before they had to Harrison, New Jersey. We lived in Harrison, New York. We haven't been there for 4 years. Okay. What's amazing to me is they know the neighbor. Somebody should come next to me and say, "Hey, Shelley, let's have a beer. Let's have a drink. Let's talk about what we're doing." Nothing. Zero. Nobody could say I wasn't there. They could have dropped in my mailbox the plans. Nothing. They could have called me on the phone because the president knows who I was. David Rowe was a president for 7 years, and he could have called me. They alerted nobody. So let's talk about the screening again. 5 to 6 foot plants next to a 40-foot structure. You got to be kidding me. That structure is like 37 feet from my property. It's on top of me, completely on top of me. Secondly, not to mention, they said they were watering their side. Watering is $1.42 a month. That's what our bill is. Okay, to not water it and kill $100,000 worth of specimen trees that I put in. Okay, it's just wrong. Okay, there's been time that this beach club, there's a red flag which signals the end of where you should put your flags, and they're all yellow. Have encroached our property by 100 feet. We haven't said a word. Not a word, because we want to be nice neighbors. And hopefully if my kid's drowning, the lifeguards will go in and get him. Okay? Seems fair. Open air locker room. All of a sudden it's a closed locker room, 40 feet. Okay? So you go from about 12 feet to 40 feet. We've also lived with a snack bar that says, "Mr. Jones, your hot dog's ready. Mr. This." We've lived with that. Okay? I would even say if Mr. Biondi is willing, we'll swap a structure on his side. I'll take the snack bar, even though I hear Mr. Jones, your hot dog's ready. Okay? Because the smoke smells good. Okay? Tell me why they need a 40-foot structure for a locker room when they sold me on open air, and I went out and put all these plantings in to sort of hide their open air because they thought from the second floor I was going to look down and see their naked members. That's why they wanted me to put screening.
Wasn't that why you're in Guantanamo now?
What's that? Listen, me and my wife walk around naked all the time. We don't close the shades. Okay, so we're even.
There's the other reason you're in
Okay,
conflict.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Secondly, I heard about the parking spots, and I'm glad they're doing that in the front, okay? That was because the Bergman said you have 70 to 100 parking spots across the street, and there's no reason to put all the cars in front, because if you want to walk the dog or you want to be on the bike, there's nowhere to pass there's nowhere to pass the club. Not to mention that all the cars back up, they ruin my trees. It says no parking zone. They go right over it and crush it. Garbage men come in the morning, making a hell of a lot, right next to our property, okay? So, and by the way, I understand they're gonna do a new screening process and they're gonna put all these new trees in. They didn't do one bit of weeding in 12 years between my property and that property. Poison ivy, poison oak, you name it. Okay? So to hear this guy tell me nothing more than 5 to 6 foot red cedars are gonna survive, I'll take you to places I'm doing that have 40-foot red cedars. Okay? I don't know where you got that information, but I'm not stupid when it comes to landscaping. So you could come see my property and tell me what size the trees are. And the Hollywoods that are living on the beach are 27 feet
Excuse
tall.
me, sir. Direct your
I'm
comments to
sorry.
the board, not to anybody else,
I'm
okay?
sorry. Okay,
You're here to address the board. It's not a back and forth.
okay. It's a little insulting when somebody
Fine,
tells me 5
it's
to 6
fine,
inches.
but address your comments to the board.
Okay, so I'll say it
And
again.
and I don't want to cut you short, but this is a preliminary, okay? And we understand very much so what you're saying about the screening. And I think that's a consideration we can give the applicant.
I did speak to their lawyer already 2 weeks ago about the agricultural plan and nothing was changed. So obviously they're not planning to change it. And that's a major, major thing.
Okay.
Okay? I also have
Well,
a
they haven't got a permit to do anything yet.
Okay.
And that's why we're here.
Okay, and I'm glad
And
you are,
you
and that's
can-
why I'm here.
And you can count on us.
Okay,
That I can.
that's, listen, I've been a resident of West Hampton for 33 years. Like I said, we took down a big eyesore. We made the property
You have a
nicer.
beautiful home.
Oh, you've seen it?
So, yeah.
Come on over for a drink. And we'll have some Cuban cigars. Okay, so I mean, I don't have a lot more to say than, like I said, I think the first comment I made about being out here from April through November and nobody saying a word. And then, like I said, mailing to Harrison, New Jersey, and not putting in my mailbox or not coming over and dropping it on my
I don't
porch.
think it was deliberate.
You
Okay.
don't? No, I
I
do.
hope it wasn't, and if it was, I'm certain that a remedy can be.
Why
taken.
would something be sent out a day before the deadline?
Well, that's the way it rolls in this.
Oh, is it?
I'll clarify, just so we can move on from this. I have a list based off the town of Southampton of where they legally have to send the notices. to.
Okay.
So we pull up the list, I give it to them, nothing was done intentionally, wherever the tax bill goes is, or whatever, if you don't want your mail going to New Jersey, you gotta call the town of Southampton.
Okay, let me say this. We moved out of Harrison, New York.
That's,
But no, no. If the mail was sent to Harrison, New York, those people who are in Harrison pick up the phone and call us and say, we got some mail for you. It didn't go to Harrison, New
get
York.
the tax bills, so
Where does the tax bill go, Felice?
they go to Harrison. If it was sent there, it came from the town of Southampton. You need to call the town of Southampton.
It's relevant. You're here. You're
Tax bill.
here. You have notice.
They don't
You
miss
have notice,
They
right?
don't miss the tax bill.
All right, but let's
The
not
tax
talk
bill
about,
comes to Harrison, New York.
let's not talk about notice. You're here.
Here now.
You're participating.
Thank you.
Nothing's happening precipitously, so let's focus on what
And we-
can
and
be.
we hear your major complaints. And I want to assure you that you have a board here to protect you.
That's all I asked for. All righty.
Pleasure meeting you. Thank you for coming in. That's what they all say.
I know. I'm Chris Biondi. I own the two houses, 36 and 37. My sister owned one. I own the other. We've been there since 1973. Good neighbors with Quantuck. We've always gotten along very well. Two comments. One, I do agree it was a gut punch that this comes in the middle of winter. No one ever talked to us. No one ever said, hey, Chris, we're planning on this. That's not been the way our relationship has been. And I felt that was not particularly forthcoming. But my bigger concern is this 2-story. They're building a second story, which increases the height. They're claiming the southwest corner has a building that's 2-story. I've put in pictures. I've gone through every C of O since 1920 something. They've had 8 of them. Every single one of them lists that as a 1-story. The first time that that's now a 2-story is for this plan. When they did their generator, it was a 1-story. When they did their walkway, it was a 1-story. When they did their handicap ramp, it was a 1-story. When they got their very original C of O in 1926, it was a 1-story. Every C of O since then has listed it as a 1-story. And now all of a sudden it's a 2-story, which allows them to build the entire club as a 2-story. And all of a sudden we're up 40 feet. Not very disingenuous. I don't know how it turned into a 2-story. Go out and look at it. It's a 1-story. And I put in pictures to the zoning board, pictures of it, and it's clearly a 1-story. So I don't get how they're building the second story based on it's always been a 2-story building. It isn't a 2-story building. Always been a 1-story, still is a 1-story, still should be a 1-story. And if it is a 1-story, a lot of my concerns dissipate a bit because we drop down the height. This height sitting 10 feet from my garden is for a commercial establishment in a residential neighborhood, I don't understand that. I don't understand. That's,
We hear you.
I'm
Thank you for coming in. Does anybody else wish to speak? All right.
I want a couple clarifications. First, the plans shouldn't have February 3rd on the bottom that you have there. That was the first page of it. But I want to be clear that the plan, the design, the setbacks have not changed. What has changed and what you can review after this meeting is the additional detail that was added to address your consultant's comment with respect to drainage and the engineering plans, the lighting plan, things of those type of
That were
details that were absent before. So the plan itself has stayed the same. So I want to be clear on that. And I also want to address this whole issue of intensifying the use or expansion of the use. And I went through this at the zoning board, and I'd like to put it on the record here. You all have a copy of the survey, I'm sure, in your materials, and I want to go over why this is not an expansion or an intensification of the use. Okay, so the main buildings of Quantuck Beach Club have been defined as the cabanas and the kitchen. And on the existing survey, they're listed as a bathhouse of 8,819 square feet and a building, which is the kitchen, of 577 square feet. Okay, that total is 8,819 square feet. Now, we are proposing an increase in gross floor area of 10,239 square feet. And that additional square footage represents solely the kitchen storage, the staff lifeguard break room, a tiny reception, and a storage area. The size of the cabana building is essentially the same. It's an 18 square foot difference, okay? The reason the kitchen size is changing is because we're trying to we are meeting today's current codes. We're also providing a better environment for our lifeguards and for our employees. We are not increasing our membership, and we're not increasing the cabana locker room numbers. So we are not intensifying the use. What we're simply doing is bringing the club to current code. We are meeting the dimensional requirements of the R3 zoning district. Yes, there is an easement from Mr. Biondi's property onto the Quantuck property, but setbacks get measured from the property line, and we have 10 feet between Mr. Biondi's garden fence and the fence that will start the service area. And we're proposing in between there to be substantial screening. The first, and I think I mentioned this last time, but the closest building to Mr. Biondi's property line is 55 feet. The dumpsters are 53 feet from the easterly property line. The generator is 32 feet from the easterly property line. So we made significant changes from our original plans when we went to the zoning board and our work session with this board to shift things to address the concerns about the proximity to the easterly property line. So I think it's disingenuous to say that we're intensifying the use because we're not here. We're simply replicating what we have to current code requirements. And we're shifting the club from, the north-south orientation that we have now to an east-west orientation so that we fit within the building envelope that's prescribed by the R3 zoning district. And yeah, we have been good neighbors with Mr. Berman and we, in fact, when he built his house, we were aware of it. And when he needed a variance for height for his house, Quantuck wrote a letter in support and stated that they had no objection to the height variance that he needed in order to construct his house. So I do think that Quantuck has been a good neighbor to Mr. Berman and looks forward to doing so in the future. I just want to put this variance application and letter in support that Quantum gave him into the record so that we have it here.
Well, I mean, we understand that there's been history of everybody being good neighbors, and perhaps a better effort could have been made to contact neighbors at the beginning of this process on your part.
Yep.
That's
and-
all I'm gonna say
No,
to
no,
that topic, and you've heard that twice.
And you're not wrong. And actually, the president of Quantuck and myself had multiple conversations with Mr. Berman on the phone when he received the mailing. The president of Quantuck apologized for not approaching him sooner and recognized that as a neighbor, that is something that maybe perhaps we could have done. So we have we have had that discussion. I feel bad that he can't get past it, but we
Okay,
trying to move forward here.
we didn't hear that.
Yeah. I understand.
Thank you, Aram Tertunian for the applicant. With respect to the coastal erosion issue before the board, actually before the zoning board, there's a lot of substantial improvements on this lot as a result of the reconfiguration, reconstruction. One of which is there's a what they call their high dune deck that's now sitting actually literally in the middle of the dune. That's going to be removed, taken away. Number two,
Excuse me.
their current walkway actually impinges into the dune itself. The new walkway that's going to be constructed will be over top of the dune in compliance with the regulations, and that dune will be restored to match the elevation on either side. This is a common thing that happens when you're a 100-year-old club. The other thing is that the style of construction, the method of construction as mandated by FEMA is the open pile construction, which obviously doesn't require excavation, is a much lighter footprint, and we have complied with the village's 75-foot crest of dune setback in all of these. So I think there are some significant advantages with our proposed project.
Well, do you see any opportunity to perhaps enhance the vegetation?
Yes, we've proposed some. The vegetation's actually in pretty good shape. There's a couple of bare spots, but we've proposed some additional areas that will be disturbed, will be replanted with American beach grass, 12 inches on center. And then we've recommended that we do a fertilization of the dune, which will help make the vegetation much more robust in that area. And we
Are
use
we
a slow
watering?
release.
We have irrigation?
Lifting the structure up from where it is.
That's right.
Okay. And how much of that is driven by the regulations that exist now in terms of, being in a coastal erosion hazard area? Certain areas have to be certain height, plus a 2-foot freeboard state. So how much of that height is being driven?
That's where our deck is now. That's what's driving the height.
So
of the
what's
structure.
your minimum under the current regulations? What's your minimum clearance? For you,
It's an AE10 zone, AE8 zone where the entry is, but once you get out onto the deck area, you get into an limo zone. That's
so,
what kicks
so
us.
you're under the current regs, I'm hearing it correctly, and I guess if I'm wrong, somebody will tell me. You have to start at 10 feet.
We have to start, and that's only on the most landward part of the structure. On the seaward part of the structure, I think we're at 16 plus freeboard.
And
And that's,
so
that's what's driving
that's
that.
where, so if the structures, then now the 40 feet that the gentleman was referring to, just because I haven't looked at this, is that from the ground, 10 feet, or is that from the ground?
That's from, datum 0.
Okay, so your structure, if you will, starting at 10 feet, is 30 feet high, plus the 10 feet that you have to have.
Right.
And what's the height of the structure currently?
I don't know, but I would say 30, 29, something.
No,
No.
We'll get, I'm just ferreting out the issue right now. Believe me, our consultants are getting into it. I just wanted to lay some groundwork that there are some issues that we're dealing with in terms of being reconstructed that the applicant has to comply with, so we have to assess it in that way. So, that's my proposal moving for the moment.
You know, and the other thing, that we did mention to the zoning board, and we'll just bring it to this board for, make the record complete, is that, they could just subdivide this and turn it into 3 homes. I mean, that would be terrible. And then you would have 3 homes that would have, that would be 40 feet high. That would be a loss for everyone.
Well, I don't think anybody's looking to push you out, but they are looking for some concessions, Aaron. So I guess we should all take a deep breath, take a look at the plan.
Well, we appreciate your, inquisitiveness tonight and look forward to your comments.
Thank you.
I just want to give one quick. I had already put this in up. What they're calling the 30-feet builder needs.
We're aware of
Can I just say one other thing, and I'll be short this time?
Promise?
Jeremy Bennett, Broadview Landscaping, who's taken care of my property, is actually gonna make a proposal to Quantuck if they would like to. His mother unfortunately had a stroke today, so he flew down to Florida. That's why he couldn't be here. But he just sent me in the last 2 hours. He said no less than a 25-footer should go there. It's the cost, you may want to write down, it's 500 each. And he thinks between 20 and 30 trees is gonna do it. And everything there has to be removed because it's all dead because they didn't water it. Okay, if you go up to 30-foot plus, he's gotta locate them. And he says they're gonna be 12 grand before installation. So I think,
It's really not our purview, and this is really a conversation we don't need to have.
okay, but
But
I,
be aware,
I,
be aware
I just,
that you have a board here to protect you.
Okay,
We understand your concern. We
okay.
really do.
like I said, he was supposed to be here. I just wanted to comment on it.
I understand what you're trying to say. Thank you for your comments. We're grateful that you came, and it's very important that you attend these meetings. But I'm going to put a halt to this for now. And obviously, we're going to be revisiting this frequently. So, okay. So we'll see you on March 13th.
Excuse me, could the board make a vote to accept lead agency who sent out the referrals and
Okay, I wasn't
there
sure.
was no contest?
Okay. Okay, I need a motion to accept lead agency.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So the ZBA walked on that one again too, huh?
Well, ZBA cannot act until the lead agency makes a determination of significance. There were items specifically that the ZBA is within their purview with respect to zoning for buildings.
Right.
Certain things that we didn't get into, like generator placement, screening, service entry, like some of these elements that are really
Not
not
that
code elements, they're planning board elements.
Right.
If the planning board decides you want a 10-foot buffer or a 20-foot buffer or a 30-foot buffer, then someone could go to the ZBA and request relief from that. But this board needs to digest the plan, get the input, make some findings for yourself and have, we get revisions of the plan before we can go back to the zoning board for them to grant any necessary variances.
Thank you very much, Brad. I appreciate that clarification. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna digest this plan and we're gonna look to our professionals for sound advice.
a little bit and just call the fire district up for their referral, because it's really just administrative, and then we'll get into the north side site.
Close the hearing? I mean, the adjourned it?
Yeah, we just have to adjourn the concept.
I need a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. West Hampton Beach Fire District, 92 Sunset Avenue.
So you're good. Okay. Just remember to send us digitals. Yeah.
With the revision, with the new
With it, yeah. It's in.
Hi, everyone.
Just a second.
My name is Lou Casara, Fire Commissioner at West Hampton Beach Fire District. District address is 92 Sunset Avenue, West Hampton Beach. I'm here to speak about the trustee referral for an LED sign, freestanding self-illuminated sign that would sit on the front property. Are you guys familiar with the history on this application, or?
I don't really think.
Okay, so real fast.
Yeah.
Going back in 2023, the West Hampton Beach Fire Department came down and presented a plea to put a sign up. It was the wrong approach. After I became commissioner, I decided to take it on as a project. I've been through the building department efforts, I believe, with Mr. Hammond and his department. I've spoken to all the trustees, who included have had a visit to the physical location, talking about placement. I had hired Mr. Hafley, who advised us to, and again, with Brad's help and the trustees, made an effort to change 197.3, which would allow this sign to be freestanding for police, fire, and emergency services, our ambulance company, who is also getting a sign or had been approved for a sign. I believe the stumbling block that we're having is after our trustee visit, Mayor Urban sent over 2 trustees to the site, and based on the visual presentation that Watchfire sign made, it was clearly evident that a 4x8 sign was most appropriate, considering the viewing, positioning, and so forth. Mr. Hammond worked effortlessly, and I mean, we were back and forth with placement. I fought hard, and I was able to get the variance approved for relief to have the sign, if I believe is the correct order. Mr. Hammond gave me a 5-foot setback when I was asking for about 7. The Zoning Board of Appeals took that back, paid with a 10-foot adjustment. Calling the office here, I wasn't sure where we stood, and I was told I needed a trustee referral. We put in the paperwork, and here I am with you guys.
That's enough out of you.
So the signs are special exceptions. They went as special exceptions.
We understand.
Only police, fire, and ambulance. We didn't change, I could have, but I didn't change the rule where there's always a referral to the planning board before the trustees can approve a special exception. So even though this feels a little redundant, because the trustees have really kicked this around for a long time, but they do need a recommendation from this board before they can grant any special exception.
I'm not going to ask if you have any comments.
It's sort of a fait accompli.
Yes, it is. I'll ask you if you have comments. You seem to be the reasonable person here.
I don't have any comments. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't think we have any issues.
Fail to see how any of my comments would be productive here.
No. Okay, so, I need a motion to, provide the referral to the trustees.
I'll already make that motion.
With no objection, exactly. Larry made it.
Oh.
I second it, and,
I hold my nose and vote aye.
and everybody. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you. Appreciate
Good
it.
to see you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now,
Thank you.
we're doing and review on the North Mall. Oh, do you want to, do we have to, Mona? No, we're not doing that. No one looked at it. How are you?
Good evening, board. I'm Anthony Portillo, AMP Architecture. The architect, in the North Mall. 10200 Main Road, Matatuck.
Have an owner here tonight?
We have two representatives.
Okay.
Um,
See you for a while.
we also have, Rico from Totino's as well.
Right.
So I'm just gonna start by, discussing where we started and what our process has been to getting to the design we have. So the idea is to rehabilitate the North Mall. One of the main things we're doing, well, I guess two of the big things that we're doing is we're removing the overhang awning that's basically falling apart and also I think a little bit unsafe in my opinion. And then we're also working with PW Grosser on redoing the parking area and some plantings and signage. We would like to remove the two signs from the current parking lot and put up at the entrance areas. That's our proposal. So by removing the overhangs on the main buildings, we also are going to rehab the facade. So we plan on using some brick to sort of pronounce the columns and sort of separate the shopping units from each other. So it doesn't really do that. And then we're proposing a cement siding, Arctic white at the top to sort of modernize the look of the building. And we're doing a nice crown at the top of the building. And we're planning on leaving all the storefronts, so we're not changing anything. The storefronts, the uses are remaining, so no change of use being proposed. And then the areas that are, we are removing next to the Sherwin-Williams, that overhang that used to be a drive-through. So we're planning on removing that as well, and trying to utilize that for more parking. The place where the current signs are, that would also become more parking spaces. So we're trying to increase the parking. The areas that are, where the Tonino's is in one area, and then the other side used to be the gym, that's no longer there. Those are gonna be, like a Nicoloc paver, just to kind of make it into like an atrium area.
Where's that?
There's two areas.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, got it.
So about this area here, it's like a garden area.
Yeah.
And we're proposing to paver that area. And then the idea is to allow the tenants to request outdoor eating space there. So the rendering we provided, not this one, it shows without the field, but that has the tables, tables with umbrellas. And then each storefront will get an aluminum awning black. It's prefabricated.
Yeah, we're in a work session here, so it's like, so kind of just.
Sure. I just wanted
Just kind of spitball it. As a practical matter, from what I've been able to see, the overall configuration of what you have right now, in terms of where things are, is gonna stay pretty much the same.
That's correct.
And you're gonna be, you better be cleaning up that parking lot. even
That's
without
number one.
Putting in the drainage in, cause and then the remainder of it is obviously cleaning up the facade, modernizing it.
Sure.
Yeah, but the glass and all this is gonna remain
coming
the
down.
same, all that.
The glass is coming down.
No, the storefronts are gonna remain with the black frames.
I'm talking about the glass atrium stuff.
Oh,
That's all coming down.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be coming.
All right.
Yep.
So I guess my only initial question right now is looking at your renderings is it took me a while to figure out that it's proposed Arctic white, because the way it goes, it's almost like a taupey beige. And the brick is really more of a charcoal, and again, it shows up as brown on here, so I don't think it really gives
Right.
a fully accurate depiction of what it's gonna look like. Then there's gonna be black aluminum for the opening, black.
Charcoal.
Yeah, and then the similar sort of like little lights or something like that. I see that little lights for the brick.
Thinking of new signs.
So the predominant color palette's going to be sort of a mix of like black, gray, white. Am I got that thing?
That's
Am I-
correct. Like a, yeah.
Now the
charcoal.
planters that you wanna put in front of those recessed paved there, what are they gonna be made of? Cause I didn't see any notice, or indication on that.
Yeah, actually, I drew a detail on the plan.
Yeah,
Um,
if it's there, I missed it and I
no, that's
apologize,
okay.
but-
I can just.
The other thing I was gonna say, I, listen, it's great, we all want this done, I've been on board almost 20 years, I've been praying for this day. So, I'm glad you're here.
I live right around the corner. And
So my only thing is, you know, and this is gonna go to ARB anyways at some point, so they're gonna lay their.
Worry about.
But I'm just
Prince of
concerned
color.
that, you know, we do have site plan authority to change what they do, so well, not that we're gonna, but I'm just saying in terms of just looking at, you know, looking at the color and cause it's going to look, we're not gonna probably demand or ask for any like extravagant architectural detail. I think we wanna see this done. We don't wanna chase you away. We don't wanna make it the Taj Mahal. It's a
You've
trick-
done that before.
Yeah, it is what it is. And and where it is, it's not on Main Street. It's on the main road up to the airport, so I think generally we're probably a little less concerned about that.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, whatever. Might be the, it might be the.
just
new-
give some thought into what, like, maybe mixing in a little color in some way or another, just, or the signage. I don't know the signage. I don't, you know, obviously we don't see that yet, but I just,
Yeah.
it was the only thing that really caught me off was, it looks a little,
Well, I think if you look at some of the buildings,
maybe the art, maybe the landscaping.
well, I mean, I think you have a lot of, I think you have comparable sort of facades that,
No, I
like you have like, you have the door, the window and door company with the gym.
And that's
like
what
a black building.
I'm not
And
expecting.
you have the, it's like black and gray.
I don't.
Yeah, I thought like bringing in the white, because normally it is gonna be white. And I think it looks coastal, and then just,
Sometimes I just,
the gray brick, I
I
think
would
is-
feel like that jumped out at me going,
Yeah.
it looks a little stark to me, like, that's all.
yeah.
Maybe landscaping breaks it up, I don't know.
Sure, I mean, we can consider that. So to answer your question about the planner, it would be a poured concrete wall, and then we were thinking of cladding it with a similar, metal that would be on the aluminum.
Dark.
Like a charcoal
Yeah,
color. And the idea is to also just make the pedestrians that are using that space feel protected from the roadway. And obviously, like, what's there now is that big wooded retaining wall planter that's in there, and that would be removed.
And I,
Kind of
appre-
open up
yeah,
that space.
I appreciate just the chairs and the umbrellas and stuff like that, but there would probably wanna have some mechanism as, who and how is that gonna get policed, because.
Sure.
Well, we have control over that.
Well, I would imagine it's the,
We've included it in.
maybe an application of seasonal seating, is that correct?
Issues. So I just want to say, we just bring these issues to the fore that they're gonna have to be dealt with.
I think we just wanted the board to understand what the intentions of that space could be, but obviously it would have to be done by the tenant.
Want to hear from our experts now.
There was one.
We both submitted comments.
Yes.
And mine was certainly.
Did you get those emails?
We did receive the comments, I think it was yesterday afternoon. We actually met as a team with PW Grosser and the applicants to discuss those comments. I mean, I think we have a couple of questions, but I think for the most part, we're able to answer those. Eddie?
Good evening again, Eddie Kirby with PW Grosser, on behalf of the applicant. So yes, I received, Ron Hill's comments. And so some of the clarifications we were looking for, is that okay to discuss here? So item 3 regarding the grading, are you just looking more for where we're proposing to raise the drainage structure towards?
So you raise it, it's gonna cause a great change in the area. And a lot of that area is gonna be ripped up by the sanitary group. So what I want you to do is define the area of the pavement repairs. You don't have to show the sanitary plan itself, reproduce that, but I wanna know where you're gonna do the repairs. And there's two other basins that are in the area. I assume you're gonna lift them. And I wanna see the change in elevation, and I wanna make sure that you're doing enough pavement repair that everything smooths out.
Are we repairing or are we repaving the site?
Well, that was a question I had as to what we're doing with the site.
My interpretation is this, we're redoing this parking lot.
That's correct. It's gonna be milled in place. So the idea is that no overall grade changes. It's just gonna be fixing the parking lot as is. But then in the areas where there needs to be repair, we've indicated saw cutting in that location. So in those areas, as you said, the pavement repair, we need to show, existing proposed spot elevation.
You're gonna mill it, repair and place the entire parking lot or just areas?
The entire parking lot. The entire.
Because that wasn't clear. Maybe you need to show your boundaries on that and show it in some kind of legend that shows you're doing that. Because I didn't know if you're repairing certain spots, whether you're doing the same on both North Mall 1 and North Mall 2. There are different problems and
There are a lot of problems with that parking lot. And our interpretation of this was, and our understanding was, that this parking lot is gonna be redone.
I didn't get that from the plans. That was.
What we can add is a square area, to be repaired.
Well, that goes back to you're repairing an area or you're redoing the whole
Or
parking
the
lot?
amount to be repaid.
Okay,
Okay, understood.
let's just define that.
Yep, absolutely, would be more clear.
You okay with that?
And then another comment was on the handicap striping. So in areas where we're proposing van parking, we're showing the 8-foot width. And then where there's just regular car parking, we're gonna propose,
Maybe just clarify that.
Well, in New York, I'm sorry, in New York State, it's 8 feet. Accessible parking spot and accessible parking stall is 8 feet. ADA's national standard, you can do 4 foot, but there is no 4 foot in New York State. It's always 8 feet. But what goes along with that is the trustees changed parking width a few years back from a 10 feet width to a 9 feet width. When this site was all designed, it was 10 feet width. There is an opportunity to, not everywhere, and in certain places, I wouldn't even recommend it, like down by Whitney's, I would leave 10 foot, especially along Old Riverhead Road, because you get a lot of trucks backing in and parking over there. But, in some of these storefronts, you might be able to squeeze out a spot or two by shrinking down to 9 foot for some of the smaller cars. And that will give you room for those 8 foot
understood.
aisles without losing parking spaces probably.
In general, parking lines along the front of the building seem to me a little haphazard, like you didn't say this is the end cap or the end, and then everything flowed from that at either a standard distance, 10 feet or 9 feet. It just looked kind of haphazard. It was really only, I think, in front of the two buildings, those spots right, because you may want to lay it out, maximize your parking, and then decide where your handicap ramps are gonna go, because I think it just needed to be laid out. And another suggestion I had in the recommendation, I don't know how the planning board feels, is I thought you were eliminating some end caps. And they're an opportunity if they're big enough for planting, which is desirable. And I'm not sure we want them all eliminated the way you were doing. Some cases may be appropriate, some maybe not. The trade-off is you use smaller spaces, particularly behind the buildings, you know. But then on the other side, there's a lot of dumpster areas back there. And they're not clearly shown, and they're all over the place back there. And you're showing parking all over the place. And you're gonna have to lay out the dumpsters, where they are, how big they are, and they certainly need improvement and details. Over the years, they have.
The back of that complex, I don't have to tell you how bad it looks. You know. You gotta clean that up. There's no question of that. And I would assume that that's part of your effort. And we'll count on you for that. The last thing we wanna do is have all the back neighbors come and start shouting again. We had that when we did the first rendition of this plan. And it got a little ugly. It looked like
The curbing in front of the store,
Frankenstein movie.
curbing in front of the sidewalk area, the curbing in front of the storefronts. Some of those areas are not necessarily disrepair, they just look kind of weathered. Are we gonna be, I don't know, cleaning it, or we're not replacing that, right? I mean, just, beam cleaning it, or something along
Yeah,
those
like
lines.
like a bleach substance.
Just to
and
kind of,
steam clean it.
bring it alive.
Yeah, we're gonna clean up the sidewalk in that
But
sense.
the dimensions are
We
gonna
didn't
stay
plan
the
on
same.
replacing the flags or anything like
Yeah, but the dimensions are gonna stay the same.
that. Correct,
Front
yeah,
to
the
curb.
walkway would be the same.
Alright. Britton, do we wanna, I don't know if it's appropriate for the site, but when we did the Ocean Spray property, we kind of divided it up, like every 4 or 5 spots, we'd have like a little landscape, like almost like a finger stick out, kind of like break it up. I didn't know if it was appropriate for this particular.
It didn't really turn out that way if you look at it now.
Yeah.
I mean, we did talk about that.
We talked about a lot of things.
We did.
In general, this is such a vast improvement of what's existing.
Yeah, and I think
So my memo,
that seemed more appropriate for that smaller scale building than a larger, they were like,
the largest thing that
I don't wanna lose many more parking.
visually we want to focus on is that you make sure 3 things regarding the refuse. One, that it's adequate for the amount, you have a lot of vacancies right now. So the dumpsters are probably adequate for the whatever percentage of vacancies you have. We want to make sure you have adequate vacancies for you to provide for full tenancy. Second to that, we want them to look better and them to be logical. We'd like to see them behind the buildings. I know in the plan it said was right in where you have a view corridor. We don't want to see that from
We
Old.
don't want to see it.
I mean, in general, this plan is great. Very happy with it from a planning perspective, from an aesthetics perspective. It's fantastic. If we're harping on dumpster areas, it obviously shows that you've done a good job addressing everything. And I would say to the board, there's no reason why we couldn't refer them to the ARB.
Yeah.
At this point, we'd like to see you guys get moving and help you achieve that goal.
Keep you moving, yep.
You wanna be able to approach with the dumpster pickup, but it could be just a little bit off, behind the building. It doesn't have to be dead center in the space, you know what I'm saying? It's a bit off. They can get their approach coming in and out without tearing it up.
Sometimes
Your artist's misconception doesn't show the dumpsters. So,
sometimes you can angle those.
Slightly angled.
Like, so the truck can come right in. Maybe it makes them a little deeper, but I'd rather that. And then sometimes you may want to drop the curb down. To figure out with your refuse guy, what's the best, what he wants.
might be a bad idea, yeah.
And I would echo Ron's comment that, I know you mentioned that the end of the buildings where they meet, it sort of ends with no the logical.
Right, so like softening up the
Perfect,
landscape.
I'm not, nobody's asking you to.
No, I think it's, we
Like
read that
we're-
comment. we
We're
actually
discussing
were-
details at this point.
Yeah.
The big ticket items have kind of sailed already.
One of my questions was on the lighting, so there's the existing lighting, which doesn't, it's higher than the 12 foot that's allowed.
I wanted to put that out to the board. I think it's to the board's discretion whether it needs to be lowered from 15 to 12 or 14 to 12.
Well, that's what we've done everywhere.
Personally,
It gets a little.
I like the higher lighting.
I know you do, but we
Cut
don't.
poles off. But I want
What's the
difference? Discretion.
Well, on the applicant side was.
All around the village.
It also means redesigning a lot of the underground lighting because now you're putting poles, you're changing locations.
It also,
The missing
it
goal.
becomes a cost that we could be spending in other ways. We were gonna provide the shielding and reduce the temperature of the bulbs.
Did you look at
to
the
meet
lighting
code.
We need the cuts.
Yeah.
I don't,
We need some more information.
I could provide the cut sheets for that,
that'd be great.
yes.
And there's some missing poles that need to be reinstalled or at least they're not on the lighting plan.
And I think that's fair. Like I said, it's going back to like changing every single pole and probably adding and having to reconfigure some of the electric. It becomes costly and some of that cost could go towards fixing the building. So I would say at the board's discretion, if we could keep the 15-foot lights, and we could put the shields and change the temperature of the lights, and I could provide the cuts for that. But I think, since it is existing, it's really looking at this like a rehabilitation, not so much as a, reconstruction.
It's a highway corridor.
But to be clear, we're redoing the parking lot. Say that
Yes,
again.
Yes, sir, that's clear.
Okay.
Yes, nice white stripes.
I think you're in a very good spot. Do we need a referral?
We do need a referral to the
I'll make the
ARB.
motion that we refer to.
Wait, Brad had something to say.
And then the other matter, public hearing is not recommended for this sort of application, but that's up to the board.
Well, that's the best suggestion I've heard all night. Okay. I just,
I helped write the code that said that, so.
I just want you
when
guys,
they come with the pitchforks, we want to know whose house to send them to.
if I could be clear with the board too, the applicants are very eager to get started and do it as fast as possible, so
For you.
they're on.
We've been waiting for the pizza guy.
Yeah.
We'll have half the village up there with shovels the minute you say go.
I just want you to know that, so, obviously us having to go to the hearing and all those things.
Well, you do have to go to the ARB.
Sure, of
So
course.
Well, realistically, you're not gonna get this done before summer.
yeah, what's your time?
What's your best case scenario?
I mean, I think it's a 2 to 3 month project if we get really moving.
Let's get on the ARB and get back.
In some respects, there's gotta be such that Tino's can get the rest of the people.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta do that pizza place first.
I think
The
if you could satisfy their main
Well,
question.
I think we're in line, and that's why Rico's here. We're in line, obviously, that we're gonna do that as part of doing that in conjunction.
You good? All right, so back to the topic of ARB. David made the motion. Mr. Jones?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're referring you back to the ARB and then we'll see you back here.
Go dazzle them.
We'll try to get the
We can
rendering
make
a
a
little bit
determination.
looser.
Yeah, we gotta.
Just one of those things that when I looked at the picture versus what was on the sheets, I'm like,
He's really.
It's the artificial
Nice.
run, I think.
Make my determination about the public hearing, yay or nay.
Okay, I don't believe we need to do a public hearing on this application. Because all we're doing is putting a little lipstick on. And as it turns out, Mr. Riley agrees with.
generally speaking, I would say generally speaking, with a project this size,
He picked up the slack for Rocco tonight. I want to point that out.
I've earned my 32 cents a meeting. No, I think in this case, we're really talking more of a renovation versus a
Yeah,
construction,
yeah.
so. But on a project of this size, I would generally want one, but I don't think it's necessary here.
Okay, so do you need a vote?
Yeah, might as
Okay,
well.
I need a motion.
Motion that we waive the requirement for the public hearing?
Do I have to second that? Yes, I do. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, boy.
I did write the
We'll
code.
see no more.
Worked on it too.
Yeah, we worked.
Minutes. We have minutes?
We do. What the heck did you drink before you?
Motion, we approve the February 13 meetings,
All in
minutes.
favor?
Aye. Anything to share?
Right, would you like to brief us on the upcoming meeting, please?
Looks like we're just gonna see Quonic for the submission they made and the bill application that was tabled, unless something comes in between now and Monday.
We should let the record show, though. I don't think anyone came to speak on three.
The motion, so again?
Oh, no one appeared on Dune Road. We should
Just make note of it.
make note that no one appeared.
Because we didn't have it publicly noticed for tonight, but Ron and I didn't get a chance to finish our review on it.
Okay. But there was really no necessity for anybody.
And there's no one here to speak, so we're just making that.
Okay. All right, any motion to close the meeting?
Motion close.
All in favor?
Aye.